Okay, we'll call the meeting order. I would make a motion that we approve the minutes of the February 27th meeting of the Board of Selectmen with an amendment. Under visitors, Keith Angel, at the end of the paragraph, we delete quote, and residents of Washington, Warren, and Kent will have an opportunity to vote on accepting an ordinance prohibiting weight voting or not, end quote. So I think what was actually said was, no matter what action taken going forward, residents of all three towns will have an opportunity for input.
Correct. Yeah. I'll second that then.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, I'd also like to make a motion for two items, subsequent items not on the agenda. One would be resignation of Phyllis Allen from the Board of Finance. The second is personnel policies.
Thank you.
Second that.
We'll do the personnel first.
All in favor?
Oh, I'm sorry, all in favor?
Sorry.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Mary Ann, once again.
Yeah, I jumped the gun on that.
Sorry.
Personnel policy, so we went over this. Does anybody have questions? Did we?
I think we resolved those when we met with Jeff and.
Okay.
I thought I thought there was actually, Jim, now that I'm thinking about it, I thought we still had we were questioning. Did we revise the total hours on the full-time
Yes,
people?
that was reduced.
That was reduced,
Yeah.
okay, that was the one question.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
This
then
was
we were in compliance with the part-time.
right, this was for those of you who are here, we had a state law, change the state law regarding the family medical leave, right? Yeah, and time off for part-time people, so we had to revise our personnel policies to fit with that. And we made some changes also to our full-time staff because of the changes the state was requiring for part-time staff. So this puts us in compliance now.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There's no action to be taken. Phyllis Allen has stepped down as an alternate on the Board of Finance. We thank Phyllis for her many years
Oh, man.
of contributions, not just to the Board of Finance, but all over town.
She remaining on the other,
We didn't bring it up.
okay, good.
She didn't bring it up, so we didn't want to give her an opportunity to drop that one either.
Good. She's excellent.
Appointments and resignations under appointments. Before we do that, I just want to say something for anybody who may not know, our long-term town clerk, Sheila Hanson.
Somebody that we met, sorry.
Sheila Hanson passed away earlier this week, after a brief battle with cancer. Obviously, there's just a huge void. The Board of Selectmen has put out a statement on the town website, in the email blast, and on Explore Washington. What we needed to do was, given the critical nature of this job, was to appoint someone as soon as possible, someone qualified. I reached out to town council, even though Mildred Johnson, who is the assistant town clerk, is not an elector, she can be appointed to fill the vacancy until November.
You say not an elector.
So that's an elected position.
Yeah, right, okay,
But we
right,
can
of course,
appoint
we don't have, we don't
Right.
have an assistant elected
Right,
in that position, okay, you may confuse me there, yep. And she has done training, she is now a certified
Yeah,
town
she's
clerk as
fully
well.
certified, she has all the authority that the town clerk would have.
Yeah, and she's been working under Sheila for how many years now, at least?
At least
Three.
three
Three
or
or
four,
four years.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think she's the perfect person to fill the slot for sure.
So I would make the motion that we appoint Mildred Johnson as interim town clerk.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Dean. Have anything tonight to report? Jay or Dean?
It seems irrelevant, but just one thing, to notify, we have been in this, program to collect recyclable plastic bags through the Trex company. The idea was to collect 1,000 pounds. We started last Earth Day, April 22nd, 23rd, whatever the day was. And as of March 1st, we have collected our 1,000 pounds. So I'm thankful to the town and people who've been participating in this. They in turn use that type of plastic along with whatever else they do to make it into benches and other products that they use. And because we collected the 1,000 pounds, we are entitled to a free Trex outdoor bench. So we'll be getting that. I have to pick a color, which is probably not the right person to pick, but we'll figure that out. I think we said green yesterday, right, at the sustainability committee meeting. So I'm just we can start the program. We can continue to recycle these bags that we work with through Big Y. And starting April 22nd, we can start the process again to get a bench in another year. But all that plastic otherwise would have gone up to up and been burned out of the up in Bristol. So that's 1,000 pounds out of the garbage and track up to Bristol as well. So thank you to everybody who's been doing that.
Okay. Dean, anything to report other than you're back in Connecticut tomorrow?
Yes, and I'll wait. I think you've got an opportunity for a comment or two on Sheila, and I'll wait for that moment.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely will welcome anyone's comments. Under old business, awarding of the bid for pickleball courts. Our engineers have reviewed all the bids that came in. There was a really wide disparity from over $150,000 down to $54,000. But again, the bids were reviewed and the recommendation from our engineers, and I would make the motion that we award the bid to Maisano Brothers for $54,000.
Wow. I'll second that. I'm assuming they have experience in doing all this, Jim, and
Yep, they've been vetted and
yep.
Yep.
And once we sign the contract, do we have an idea of when this work will be done?
Yeah,
Still has to go through land use.
yeah, it's got to go through land use first,
Sure.
but once all the hurdles are cleared, it should be, I think, 2 months, a 2-month bill.
So we should hopefully have that for this summer.
Hopefully.
I mean, I understand saying that, given our history with this, but let's hope that happens.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next one was in Preston Falls. As people may be aware, the falls collapsed, essentially, the dam in Preston Falls 2.5 years ago. We've had Army Corps of Engineers out, we've had our own engineers out, we've had a survey to determine ownership. We've had a variety of different agencies looking at this. We've had 3 different options for repair. We took a middle of the road option, which was the low road was ignore it. It doesn't hurt any downstream. We didn't want to do that. We wanted to bring it back to its original character. The high end of things would have been to continue to tear it down. It's a roughly pre-Civil War era construction, and that was not practical either. So what we did was we settled in at rebuilding what was there and refurbishing it to its former state. And that bid was Ali Bozak Construction for $267,075. And again, all vetted by our engineers. So I would make the motion. We award that bid to Ali Bozak Construction.
I'll second that.
Any other?
I know we've been putting money away to do this work, Jim. Do you know how much, what we had in the bank already? Or
Yeah,
we have that amount covered?
We've got to put about another 70,000 in.
Okay, so we're not.
So we've got, it's not going to be a budget buster. It's
Right, but
most of it's in
but
there.
we saved most of it. That's what I wanted. We've known this was coming, but okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion that the first selectman be authorized on behalf of the town of Washington to sign the local bridge program supplemental application and any associated agreements with the state of Connecticut for the town of Washington for Christian Street Bridge over Bee Brook.
I'll second that.
That's a refurb project. I believe that's got 100%,
This
Is
is a state
100%.
project, yeah.
reimbursement, and we're still into that, those funds are still available, so we weren't initially gonna tackle it this year because it wasn't on the port list, but the fact that it's gonna be fully paid for made perfect sense to do it this
So
year.
I know we went out to bid on this once before. Have we, this is to be able to go out to bid again, Jim, or have we?
We've already gone out to bid, but this is supplemental with the state and federal government, so this application will go to them for the.
Oh, well, it's Fed, if it's any Fed money, I think it's more of a 50-50 thing, but anyway, we put money away, we have money, more than enough funds in the
Correct.
bridge budget to cover this.
Any other thoughts, Dean?
No,
All in
Great.
favor?
All right,
Aye.
and do we expect, I'm sorry, I meant to ask, do we expect this work to get done this, or?
This
So,
season,
this
it
season,
would probably run into the fall.
Great, okay,
Steep Rock. So I want to read this proclamation. Whereas in 1925, Eric Rossiter donated a 186 acre parcel called Steep Rock to a group of trustees so that it could be preserved for the public benefit. And whereas Steep Rock Association, with the assistance and cooperations of the residents of Washington, has now conserved and protected approximately 6,000 acres of land and 8.5 miles of the Chippewa and Bannock rivers. And whereas Steep Rock Association offers over 50 miles of scenic and historic recreational trails for Washington residents and visitors. And whereas Steep Rock Association's Judea Garden produces and distributes nearly 4,000 pounds of organically grown vegetables and fruits to residents in need. And whereas Steep Rock Association has contributed significantly to the history, economy, and quality of life of Washington. And whereas Steep Rock Association celebrates its centennial in 2025, now therefore be it proclaimed that we, the Board of Selectmen of the town of Washington, Connecticut, do hereby declare that Washington recognizes 2025 as Steep Rock Association year. James Rail Britton, J. Hubblebank, Dean Sargent, Board of Selectmen.
that's great.
All in favor?
here.
Aye.
Aye.
Seconded it, by the way.
Thank you both.
Yeah,
For all
that's
the
great
hard work.
work, absolutely.
Thank you for your stewardship.
I remember the 36 hat I had with 36 miles. Now it's, what was that, 53 and growing, I imagine? That's great. Thank you guys, been great.
I just want to mention one thing, and then I want to allow anyone who wants to speak about Sheila to have a few minutes to talk, but I wanted to talk about Arbor Services of Connecticut. Every year, they donate to the town in-kind services, and it's substantial, whether it's the lighting, whether it's tree work that they do. They work on the Charter Oak here in town, and they do all this on their own dime. So I'm not going to get into the specifics and the dollar amount, but it's done on an annual basis. And I just want to thank Bill and Jocelyn Pollock, who really are community minded, and it's very greatly appreciated what they do.
I was not aware of that. Thank you, Jim.
Dean, did you want to say a few words about Sheila?
I'd love to. What a heartbreaking time for the town and for so many people, and what a public servant. Really dedicated a great deal of her life to public service. And one little anecdote I'd like to share, and I think everybody's got this kind of story where she just took care of us and the folks of this town. I made the mistake of switching my driver's license to Florida a couple of years ago, only because it saved me on my fishing permits down there, not for any reason of changing my residence. And I didn't realize you can't do that. And she got a call from the state and quickly called me and said, "Dean, did you change your license?" And I said, "I did." And she said, "Well, you got to come home and change it back to Connecticut. You can't do that." So she did it with a smile and with a laugh and a wink and a nod, and just took care of it and made sure that I didn't do anything criminal or illegal or immoral or irresponsible, which is a lot to do to keep me in that line. And she did it with her typical aplomb, and I'm going to really miss her, and I know the town is going to really miss her.
Agreed, and thanks, Dean, and I think almost every resident in town could probably share a story, specific to Sheila. Mary Ann and I have seen countless times where she's taken people aside, went above and beyond the duties of the town clerk and just helped people out. She was an amazing lady and just incredibly committed to this community. So we were blessed to have her. It's a void that will not be filled. Jay,
Um, I'm just gonna let it, I can't,
understood,
I'm good, thank you.
understood.
She meant a lot to me.
Anything from visitors? We've got some online.
I have a statement. I'm actually George Bartholomew, 10th School Street. Excuse me. I'm here as a delegate, basically, but regarding the pickleball. There was a letter that went out to a group of people. I didn't get it because I'm not on it, but last week or two. They asked me to come and advise the board on the zoning board meeting on the 27th. There's going to be a very robust pushback opposition to this. And the reason I'm here is because you're about to sign a contract. I don't know how it affects it. Whether you want to sign it before the 27th or after the 27th. So it's basically a courtesy call. So, heads up.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Anyone else? Brian?
Yeah, Brian Hagenbach, Executive Director, Steve Brock Association. Actually, I'd like to make two comments tonight. Number one, speaking for all of us at Steve Brock, our hearts bleed at the loss of Sheila. She served on our board for over 20 years. She was secretary of the board for a while. She continued to chair our picnic committee even last fall and August. And she was always running around the picnic with her apron on, and she was just a joy to work with. And she made our life so much easier with all the land records and dealings that we've had with the clerk's office. She was just a joy and a pleasure to work with. We are dearly going to miss her in this town too, because she was so much in this town. Being relative newcomer here, she to me, she was the epitome of Washington. I also just wanted to say thank you for the proclamation. We have a very active and engaged year of activities to celebrate all aspects of our centennial this year. The proclamation that you read, hopefully one of you will come on April 5th, Saturday, is the grand reopening of the Isaac Camp House, the red house at the entrance to Macrocostas Preserve, purported to be the second oldest residence in Washington. We have restored it from the still in the basement all the way up to the chimney. And we will open that as a museum and education center, and that'll be the grand opening that morning. And what we'd like to do then is take a copy of the proclamation, frame it, and actually put it up as one of our exhibits. So again, thank you so much for your support of the town for Steve Brock.
Where we,
And really for Denise for doing,
Oh,
she's been our staff lead, all the centennial stuff. It's just been amazing. And Natalie Dyer and Ray Wright have been the co-chairs of the committee. It's been a pleasure to work with them. And we're looking forward to the celebration.
Thank you, Brian.
where am I gonna store the wheat packer though?
Couple of donations for the barn.
Anyone else
That's out of
online?
mine.
Yes, Ray Wright.
Hi, guys. I want to stay tuned to the variety of memories of Sheila, but I'm most interested in whether anyone in town, particularly perhaps the selectmen, would think of trying to coordinate from the different groups that want to recognize Sheila. It could be a feeding frenzy for signage or benches or whatever. And this is such an unusual event. I hope that people understand that we shouldn't be treading on each other's toes or getting in the way of different organizations. I'm not asking you guys to take charge of it, but why not? you have fairly short Board of Selectmen meetings anyway, so I was just concerned about everyone getting a fair chance to recognize in whatever ways they have planning that we don't step on anybody's toes. She was too gracious a lady to cause consternation. So I'm concerned about that, and I will certainly see you guys on Sunday. Thank you.
Thanks, Ray. I wasn't gonna bring it up, but I'm glad you did, and I'll talk to it a little bit. Over the last, since Sheila's passing, it's been on my mind. What is an appropriate way to honor her? I haven't shared it with the Board of Selectmen yet because I wanted to speak with her family. I talked to the chairman of the Parks and Rec and our Parks and Rec director, and I'll be meeting with them at their meeting next week, but I thought there's a possibility to rename the pavilion after Sheila.
It's a great idea.
I second.
She was still cleaning bathrooms.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
unbelievable.
So I'll keep everybody posted, Ray, but the goal is to, again, first of all, speak with the family, to your point. I don't want to step on anybody's toes, and then meet with the members of Parks and Rec. And obviously require their endorsement.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there anyone else live or online?
Okay, well, before I get into what I came down here for, obviously I found out about Sheila today myself. Nothing more to add. I just wanted to say I think that it's a good idea what you just said, the pavilion. I'll third the motion.
Thanks,
I
John.
think that's a very fitting tribute.
Thank you.
Okay, another what I came down here for, obviously. This isn't going to go over well. Anyway, we have our electric truck that Wally is driving. I know we've had that for some time. I know I've made my my opinion known about the whole electric business, and I'm not going to go over that any further. I have been keeping my mouth shut about things, but I decided to say a few things. I decided I would write it down, although I have had a penchant for slagging people for reading things at meetings. I decided to write it down for it to be as concise as humanly possible. So, from the top. Now, it is anticipated that the $7,500 federal subsidy for the purchase of most electric vehicles will be going away in short order. I, for one, look forward to seeing this garbage policy go away. Now, market research has found that the average household income for a Tesla buyer is $150,000, which sounds quite like what today's Democrats would call a tax break for the rich. This is a story from justthenews.com. The Biden administration took an unprecedented step rolling its climate agenda into a healthcare concern with the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act, or IRA. Medicare provisions within the IRA are cycling funds into green energy policies, as Bill Morales, Federal Affairs Manager for Americans for Tax Reform, told Just the News. The IRA grants the Secretary of Health and Human Services the ability to negotiate the price of prescription drugs on behalf of Medicare. I don't have a problem with that. Now, okay, there's savings, obviously. Writing in the Wall Street Journal, Mark Merritt, president of the Proactive Strategies Group, said that about 15% of the $280 billion in savings from the program goes into Medicare, 15%. The bulk of the savings, Merritt explained, is going to support the $7,500 electric vehicle tax credit. Quote, my quote, the exact number funneled into the tax credits is actually $230 billion. Contrast this with the fact that in 2019, half of Medicare enrollees earned $30,000 or less. Now, as to the extraction of the materials to create EV batteries, the following is an excerpt from an interview by NPR host Terry Brooks in Fresh Air. The interview with Isidar Kara, and he's the author of the book Cobalt Red, How the Blood of the Congo Colors Our Lives. And that book was the 2024 Pulitzer Prize finalist for nonfiction. Mr. Carr is a senior fellow at the Harvard Harvard School of Public Health, and an associate professor of human trafficking and modern slavery at Nottingham University in England. Now, quoting Mr. Carra, the term that belies the truth, the reality of the degrading conditions under which the quote unquote artisanal miners work in the Congo. You have to imagine walking around in some of these mining areas, as it has, and dialing back our clock centuries. People are working in subhuman, grinding, degrading conditions, and they're called artisanal miners because they use pickaxes, shovels, and stretches of rebar to hack and scrounge at the earth in trenches and pits and tunnels to gather cobalt and feed it into their own supply chain. The mines have taken over everything. Hundreds of thousands of people have been displaced because their villages were just bulldozed over to make place for large mining concessions. So you have people with no alternative, no other source of income. So in the 21st century, this is modern day slavery. It's not chattel slavery from the 18th century, where you could buy and trade people and own title over a person like property. But in the level of degradation, the level of exploitation is on par with old world slavery. China cornered the global market on it before anyone knew it was happening. And it goes back to the year 2009 under the previous president of the Congo, Joseph Kabila. He signed a deal with the Chinese government, i.e. Chinese Communist Party, for access to mining concessions for development assistance, a commitment to build roads and some health clinics, schools, hospitals, things like that. And that opened the door. And before anything ever happened, Chinese companies had seized ownership of 15 of the 19 primary industrial copper and cobalt mining concessions down there. So they dominate mining excavation on the ground. Not just that, they dominate the chain all the way to the battery level. They have about 70 to 80% of the fine market, cobalt market, and probably half the battery market, actually a little over that. And from there, you just have the consumer-facing tech companies. This is what the realities of what active EV drivers are supported. Dr. Mark P. Mills is a senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute and a faculty fellow at Northwestern University's Performance School of Engineering and Applied Science, where he co-directs an Institute of Manufacturing Science and Innovation. Early in his career, Dr. Mills was an experimental physicist and development engineer at Bell Motor Research, which was Canada's Bell Labs, and at the RCA Davis Sarnoff Research on microprocessors, fiber optics, missile guidance, and it earned several patents for his work. In a popular Prager University video, Dr. Mills shared the following information regarding battery storage. Said battery storage is quite another matter. Consider Tesla, the world's best known battery maker, $200,000 worth of Tesla batteries, which collectively weigh over 20,000 pounds, are needed to store the energy equivalent of 1 barrel of oil. A barrel of oil, meanwhile, weighs about 300 pounds and can be stored in a $20 tank. Now, the realities of today's lithium batteries, even 200% improvement in underlying battery economics and technology, wouldn't close such a gap. And consider the world's biggest battery factory, one Tesla built in Nevada. It would consider, well, it'll take current production 500 years for that factory to make enough batteries to store just 1 day's worth of America's electricity needs. That helps explain why wind and solar currently still supply less than 3% of the world's energy after 20 years and billions of dollars in subsidies. And putting aside economics, if your motive is to protect the environment with still Dr. Mills, you might want to rethink wind, solar, and batteries because, like all machines, they're built from non-renewable materials. A single electric car battery weighs about half a ton. Fabricating one requires digging up, moving, and processing more than 250 tons of earth somewhere on the planet, somewhere other than the United States usually. Building a single 100 megawatt wind farm, which can power 75,000 homes, will furnish some 30,000 tons of iron ore, 50,000 tons of concrete, as well as 900 tons of non-recyclable plastics for the large, huge blades. Now, to get the same from solar, the amount of cement, steel, and glass needed is 150% greater. Excuse me. Then there are the other materials needed, including elements known as, wait for it, rare earth metals. With current plans, the world will need a 200 to 2,000% increase in mining for elements such as cobalt, lithium, dysprosium, just to name a few. End quote. Back to me. In 2024, Ford Model E, the electric vehicle company, split off from Ford Motor Company, lost $5.1 billion. This year, they expect to lose $5.5 billion, even with public subsidies factored in. Can we expect to see a taxpayer bailout in the future? In any case, the house of cards, that is the electric vehicle scam, is falling. Now, as for claims that EVs are being earth friendly regarding carbon dioxide reduction, not carbon dioxide, we need to pump the proverbial brakes on that narrative. Now, in an interview with the legendary journalist John Stossel, Dr. Mills cited a study by Volkswagen regarding CO2 reduction in manufacturing and usage of EVs. Bear in mind, the VW is in the EV production market. The study in question concluded that the production of EVs, the amount of CO2 production is such that the owner will need to drive their vehicle some 100,000 kilometers or over 60,000 miles simply to make up for the excess of CO2 created during the production of the vehicle. In Dr. Mill's words, the EV owners are showing concern for the environment around their garage. By 2026, Connecticut state government vehicle was supposed to be comprised of 50% EVs. They are currently at 3%, even with federal subsidies. In conclusion, the era of magical thinking regarding these vehicles is coming to a close. And this town, in my opinion, needs to disavow itself of these myths and step back from its triple signal plans.
Thank you, Todd.
I know that's not a popular opinion, but I'll get used to it.
Opinions are subjective. I can live with unpopular. I don't have to agree with any of them, but everybody's entitled to them.
Well, the reason why I'm down here in person in particular is because although I'm not about in retail politicking things so much in this town, there are a lot of people, and it's happened for a long time. A lot of folks, particularly entrepreneurs in this town, don't want to weigh in on things because it can be bad for business. I know that there are a lot of people in this town who are afraid to say anything conservative. You know what? I'm not one of them. And anyone who doesn't like it anywhere, and pardon me, suck it.
So let me tell you something, Todd. When I allow people to talk here, I treat everybody with respect.
I know you do.
Your last statement is disrespectful.
Yep.
So you had your last say at any of my meetings, and I've always given people an open mic with respect. Shame on you. You just took everything you said and threw it in the garbage by that kind of disrespect for other people. You've not been disrespected. I've always been respectful of you.
You have.
And I find that shameful. Thank you.
And, well, okay, well, and you have the right to say that to me as well, and I understand that. Okay, well, I just say one other thing before we go. Before I go. Okay, as far as respect, on things actually. You've always been respectful to me, and I do appreciate that. And you have risen above partisanship, and I do appreciate that. I genuinely do. And I think I've expressed that sort of gratitude to you in private as well. Now, what's come from the other two members of this board, I have had some disrespect thrown at me, and well, I'll just say this. Back a few years ago, when I was making my opinions about about the job description of our economic development, economic and community development coordinator, Nelson. As a couple things said to me rather derisively at the end of my comments. Well, come back at around budget time. Okay. When I was making my comments at the time, it was after the budget. It was during the summer. Excuse me. That was during the summer. Okay. Sorry, I'm getting a little dry mouth. It's been known to happen. Now, I haven't said anything about that beforehand. I'll try to be brief and I'll try to keep pithy. Now, that position came into being while everything was locked down. Okay, understandable. Okay, I was not happy with that at the time. I didn't make any noise because the world was being turned upside down. And I think it would be bad for them to carve about that then. Still do. Now, after that, things were trying to go back to normal, etc. Shortly before the tropical storm, which we all remember, my father came within that close of dying, as you all know. I happened not to be in the house at the time. I was doing some actually, not that it matters, it was doing a little house sitting for friends of mine. My brother had to rush into the hospital. He barely made it. He came home, as you remember, during the storm while we were trying to get back online. And I'll say for public attribution, you generously lent us your generator briefly, which I thank you for. I thank your wife for when I saw her in Big Y. That is the definition of how to be near. So anyway, that recovering from that, he rallied for a month, he plateaued for a month, and he declined for a month. Saturday after the presidential election passed away. Okay, obviously had a lot we all lost. People near and dear to us. There's a great deal to deal with between, well, everything, which I won't go into. So I was dealing with that, going through the holiday season, working full time at all, going through probate and all of that nonsense. It's not nonsense, it seems like it now, but anyway, I went through all of that and etc. I was talking to an individual who was of a similar mindset to me about this position, and this individual had the job description, had obtained it. So as soon as this person forwarded that to me, I went through it, and the very next meeting I came down here. Now, when I'm going through about trying to, I'll try to put a bow on this. The reason why I went through this convoluted story is because I never said anything about that at the time because I had other things going. Furthermore, if anybody can come in here and talk about it, if a 14-year-old young woman from Chicago came in here with a concern, pardon me, you would let her speak because that's the kind of guy you are and you do understand how to do things. Now, when it comes to something like personnel or how town resources are being used, I think anybody in this town who votes or pays taxes or any of that has the right to come in here and question that at a meeting. So I just wanted to tell you that that's not appreciated given the circumstances. Now, I didn't say anything to you at the time because that meeting got a bit heated. I never raised my voice and I didn't disrespect anybody, but I knew that wasn't. There was plenty of heat going on, and I didn't want to add to that. My point is that that sort of thing has gone on. And once again, anybody who has a concern about something like that should be able to come in here and not have somebody in elected office sneering at them and telling them, you know what, save that for another time. We've all just paid our property taxes and cut a check, anyone who owns real estate, cut a check or done anything with a number of comma in it. Part of the game, part of those of us who are blessed to have a home. But there's something else I could say, but you know what, I've taken up a lot of time, and I'm not too happy. Well, look, I don't regret coming down here and talking. I know, given the circumstances, Sheila Hanson's passing with, which is hurts everybody, and I don't like the fact that I said something amiss, but ultimately, her service and everything afterwards is really the most important part of it. But, okay. If you're not gonna allow me to say anything anymore, okay. You have that right.
I stand corrected, Todd. If you're respectful, I certainly will. I just didn't care for that last sentence, and
And, well.
I lost my cool, and I apologize.
Okay, well. I've never come down here and said anything disrespectful. I've sat at that table here or downstairs on the CPA for over 9 years.
I know.
So the thing is, when you sit at that table, if you're paid or unpaid, you and all of us, paid or unpaid, are employees, and we've heard some very heartfelt things said about Sheila Hanson regarding public service. So.
Thank you.
Todd, do you want to give me your statement? Do you want that part of your testimony? Thank you,
I'm sorry, I was gonna offer it to you, but
thank you,
there you go. It's a little out of order, but
thank you.
I know I don't expect to see that published in the minutes, but you can do as your,
Thank you.
you can do what your responsibilities dictate.
Thank you.
We don't need to, I don't know how to undo this. We don't need the executive session tonight. Circumstances have
Okay.
changed.
Okay, that's
So
all.
I guess
That's
we
all we
just,
need to do.
I would make a motion to adjourn. If there, I'm sorry, is there anyone else?
Okay.
Rod, did you wanna unmute? Rod, can you unmute? There you
How
go.
about now? Can you hear me?
We got you.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a sad time in Washington, with the passing of Sheila Anson. You know, she's part of my family. As a lot of you know, she's a cousin, and our families were very close, and it's a shock, and it really is. And I hope the town does something very honorable in her memory because she did a lot for this town. She's an institution here, and she's going to be missed by everybody, you know. And we were lucky to have her for 28 years. And, you know, and I wish her successor well too, and whoever he or she may be. And because I missed the first part of the meeting, I'm sorry, my camera's all messed up on the
That's all right.
but it's a sad day for this town, and you know, luckily I got to see her one last time about last Wednesday. I stopped in on the 5th to ask her about the caucuses in November or in July, and I asked her where should I send the legal notice, because with voices being no longer in circulation in this town, and of course she told me the Waterbury Republican, so at least I know where to send the legal notice in July. So I'm gonna miss her very much. She was very helpful since I've become town chair for the Republicans, and you know, that's all I'm gonna say.
Thanks. Thank you, Rod.
Thanks, Rod.
I would make a motion, we adjourn.
I guess I'll second that.
All in favor?
I
Aye. And Lean's
I
muted,
think
but
we lost him.
yeah,
think that's the side of his car there. So.
yeah.
Hi.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.